we had another promo issue. Now, we talked about what happened with Darby on AEW with Stu Myrick in the last hour. Now, I'm going to pick a bone with this promo that The Rock did on Friday. and Matt, I don't know if you know, you just meeting Reuben here, but Reuben's
What's
done
up?
comedy and a lot of TV writing and stuff like that. So The Rock comes out and he starts talking about the Utah Jazz and how the Utah Jazz lost. And they didn't cry about it. They came back and worked their way back to the championship. Well, what did Cody do? He didn't do anything. And he gets his rematch. And I'm sitting there scratching my head when I'm watching this promo. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I actually, and kids, I did my research. I hopped on the Internet Wrestling Database. And if you haven't been on that thing, it's literally got almost every match that everybody's ever had. It's got, and you can actually search by venue and everything else. So I was like, well, let's see what Cody did just for fun. Do you know Cody lost 2 singles matches since WrestleMania? The triple threat match.
One of them was to Brock.
One was to Brock at the Night of Champions, which he avenged in that best of 3 series they did. The other was the triple threat match when they had the World Championship tournament. That, of course, Seth won, and he didn't get pinned. And he lost 2 tag matches with Jay when they had won the titles and lost them. That's it, kids. He's won like 65 or 70 matches for the year. And, of course, he won the Royal Rumble, which gives him the right to wrestle for the championship.
Exactly.
And I'm just sitting there saying to myself, how did that promo make any sense whatsoever? Zero. And then I'm also kind of, scratching my head with this whole thing that everybody's coming with conspiracy theories that The Rock was pointing at Roman when he was saying that, you're going to lose at WrestleMania, and he had the L up when he was at the
Guns
end of
up,
it.
baby. And Bullet Club Gold for The Rock.
Yeah.
He's ready to join. He's jumping ship.
Yeah. So the whole thing, and this is what I was talking about earlier in terms of continuity and being careful what you write. And then I saw the story that apparently Brian Gerwitz and Triple H and a whole bunch of people were actually in on writing that promo. This wasn't just The Rock going out and doing this. That everybody was in on this thing too. And I'm saying, yeah, and that made it even worse. I'm just like, nobody caught that. So I was kind of blown away and saying to myself, this The Rock sticking his nose in this thing. When he joined the board and all of a sudden, he's got to wrestle a match, and instead of just sticking with the plan, you kind of threw a curveball in there. Well, now the curveball got past the catcher, and we're chasing the ball back to the backstop and trying to throw the runner out at second. And it's kind of, okay, what do we do now? And I'm sorry to go off about that part of it, but it's kind of made this path very thin. Your reaction, both of you guys. I'll start with you, Matt.
Well, first off, you talked about continuity, and I know a lot of people had issues with the Darby Allin promo on Dynamite, but here's where the fact remains where I didn't have a problem with it. He was speaking on continuity. He was speaking on things that legitimately happened. Cody is the EVP that brought him into that company. If it wasn't for Cody, Darby would have never been signed by AEW. So they were not ignoring their past just because one of their former employees went on to another place. I respect that because it treats me like an intelligent wrestling fan. And I don't want to be treated like I'm stupid. So I appreciated what Darby said on Wednesday night. The Rock came out, and I thought he went into business for himself, honestly, because his promo didn't make any sense. And anybody who helped write that with him deserves just as much blame as The Rock does. If the San Francisco 49ers go back and win the NFC Championship next year and go to and have the right to go to the Super Bowl, they're not going to look over at the Dallas Cowboys and go, you know what, you're America's team, so we're going to let you guys play the Super Bowl for us instead. That's not how this works. If you win the Royal Rumble, you get your shot at the championship at WrestleMania. That's how it's established. That's how it's been for the last almost 3 decades now, and that's the way it needs to work. The Rock's reasoning for this to all take place and why Cody doesn't deserve to be in the spot that he's in doesn't make any sense. And I think the problem right now is nobody's willing to treat the audience like they're intelligent because nobody wants to flat out say what happened. And they're all trying to cover it up with these cutesy little words and these different lingos. And look, here's the fact of the matter. And you could turn this into a story point. Cody, The Rock came to me, sold me a false bill of goods about his family and wanting to fix things for his family. So I graciously decided I was going to step aside for him. And I was still going to step aside for him in Las Vegas at the press conference. But then I saw what he did on stage with Roman. And with the bloodline family tree and shaking Roman's hand. And they all looked like they were in on it together. And that's when I was like, no, Rock played me. I'm taking my rightful spot at WrestleMania against Roman Reigns. And everybody would have been okay with that. That's a story that makes sense. You could take what really happened behind the scenes, turn it around a little bit, and turn it into a storyline. Instead, they're dancing around it. Like they're dancing around the real fact of what happened instead of just trying to tackle it head on for everything to make sense. And with each promo, things are becoming more complicated and more convoluted than they needed to be. And The Rock's promo really put it over the top. Look, I love heel Rock. He's hilarious. I like his little zingers on the crowd and all that, and sing along with The Rock and Trailer Park Trash and all that. It's funny, but the meat of the promo didn't make any sense whatsoever. And everybody in WWE, from The Rock to everybody to Gerwitz, Triple H, anybody who helped him write that promo needs to take a hard look in the mirror and go, we screwed the pooch on that one.
There you
How
go.
can we fix it?
There you go. Ruben.
Yeah, I think I'm swayed. I didn't have that opinion. First of all, hello, how you doing? I'm Ruben. Nice to meet you, Matt.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, I didn't have that strong of an opinion, mostly because when The Rock is talking, I'm just like, I'll listen to whatever. Like, it doesn't really matter what the words are, like you can do whatever it is. He came out with the vest and I was like, I'm on board with whatever's about to happen. I don't really care what the content of whatever's happening here is. If he's got the vest and we get Hollywood Rock, like that's awesome. But what you say makes sense. I agree with you but this has always been the case, right? AEW has always treated the audience as smarter and smart enough to keep up with all of the facts. And WWE is still trying this sort of 90s-ish mentality where information doesn't travel like it does, and people can't be as educated as they are on the details of professional wrestling. And I'm a little bit forgiving of that, again, because the business side of WWE has been so in flux over the past couple months that I'm willing to give them a little bit of leeway. I'll give a little bit of leeway to Triple H and to The Rock and the people who are in power and who are writing their own promos, probably because of the turmoil in the background. But you're right. I mean, it's tough to tell whether what he says in that promo is purposefully inaccurate to get cheap heat or whether it's just a mistake. I'm going to hedge towards the first, but it's real easy to be The Rock, busy making movies, doing business deals, doing a bunch of other stuff, writing this promo, not really caring about the fact checking and just going out and doing it. But I also will give credit to The Rock because he's very smart. He knows how to use the crowd, use the audience. And as soon as he saw the reaction that when he came out the first time, he was like, all right, it's time you can't fight against the storm. Like, you've got to ride the wave. So I'm sort of on the fence, but having heard Matt talk about it a little bit more, I'm pretty swayed. I think that it's another ship righting moment where they've got to sort of circle the wagons again.
Yeah, it's when I saw them change this to Rock Roman, I just knew that they took what seemed to be a very easy path and just narrowed it to a point where now you're walking on a tightrope, and it's going to be real easy to take a step where now you're going to be kind of, I mean, if you picture in your head, you went from walking on a nice, comfortable bridge across there, which, you can always screw it up anyway. But now you're walking on a tightrope, and you take that one step and you're kind of wobbling now, holding that pole, and you're like, oh my God, am I going to fall or not? And, it's a precarious position that, quite frankly, The Rock put these guys in, with this comeback.